What's up everyone, and welcome to the first part of our Git and GitHub tutorial series. This will be an intro to version control. Here we're going to be exploring what version control is and why you should learn this topic. So what is version control? As a quick overview, version control is simply a way to keep track of software as projects are updated and new versions become available. Essentially, it provides a way to view different versions of software files. In almost all cases, when a piece of software, an app, a program, etc. is released, it will be updated at various points in time. Perhaps an entirely new version will come out. You'll likely have seen this in your phone's operating systems. Well, it will be hugely beneficial for us to be able to keep track of what has changed throughout all of these versions, as maybe we'll need to revert back to previous versions or just kind of see how things have changed over time. This also allows us to work on project updates without making changes to a release version until updates are ready to be pushed. This is again massively effective because if we want to add new features or just an entirely new version to our software, we don't want to mess up the existing version that is out there. In conjunction with GitHub, version control also provides a way to effectively share projects with team members and also view the changes that they have made. There are also ways to approve or disapprove of changes as well, and it's just a nice way to collaboratively work on projects. So what is Git specifically then? Git is simply a version control system that allows us to apply version control functionality to our projects. Git is widely used through a command line or terminal interface. Now there are actually GUIs or graphical user interfaces that help you to execute Git commands a little more easily, especially when paired with GitHub. We can definitely turn to the more graphical side of things if we're not comfortable using terminal, but it's a good idea to learn the command line commands as well because you'll be using that in a wide variety of ecosystems. Now, with Git, we can run various commands to achieve results such as saving changes to files, pushing or pulling from online repositories, viewing file changes, and even merging different file versions. So really, Git just is a way to integrate different aspects of version control into our own projects. So what about GitHub then? Likely you've heard GitHub if you've been around the programming community for any amount of time. Well, GitHub is actually just an online hosting system that is used to store various projects. Essentially, it can be thought of as a giant online database for software projects, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be software, although you'll most commonly find software on GitHub. The nice thing about GitHub is it provides a really good looking GUI that's easy to use, and we can use this to easily keep track of project versions, changes, and issues such as any bug reports or anything that needs to be changed within a project. This makes it an excellent platform for sharing projects with team members, and it really interacts very nicely with Git commands as well. I mean, the word Git is right in the name GitHub. So in essence, GitHub is just a big online database where we can store our projects, and we can use Git commands to interact with the version control aspects of GitHub. So why bother learning all of this then? We know what these things are, but how are they useful to us in general? Well, version control with Git and GitHub provides many benefits. For starters, we can keep track of software changes. As I said, this is beneficial because we may need to check to see what we implemented in the previous versions for inspiration. Maybe we want to see what we want to change over time, and it's just very beneficial to be able to revert back to previous versions if needed. We can also work on branches of a project before releasing them. Again, if there is a stable version of your software out there that users are using, you definitely do not want to mess that version up while you're working on new versions or new features. We can store files in an online database like with GitHub. Another popular one is Bitbucket, but we won't be covering that in this course. But this is great because obviously you don't want to store your software in just one location in case of some kind of a data failure. And finally, we can collaborate with team members through the use of GitHub and other online repository systems. This is really helpful because then we don't have to share files through like Google Drive or Dropbox or USBs or something inefficient like that. We can just kind of store the project in one location and give the people we want access to it. Now, also most companies that have anything to do with software use some kind of version control. In fact, I can't off the top of my head think of a company that doesn't use GitHub or something very, very similar, just because it's such a powerful tool for storing and collaborating on projects. So if you want to apply to software companies in the future, there's a very, very good chance they're going to want to, they'll want you to learn how to use Git and GitHub. If you already know that, all the better. So that makes it an essential skill for software developers of any field. It really doesn't matter if you're in mobile applications or web applications, or maybe you're working on like desktop software or something. There will be software developers of all kinds using GitHub. As well, you can actually build up a really nice portfolio to share with prospective jobs that you might want in the future. You can just kind of direct them to your GitHub profile and let them take a look at that for a list of all of your projects and your experiences. And of course, if you want to use GitHub effectively, then you should learn to use Git as well. So that's a quick rundown of what version control, Git, and GitHub are, and why you should bother learning all of this. Let's now move to the very first lesson, which will be actually installing Git so that we can get access to those commands. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next tutorial.